All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Space Invaders TV. Thank you all for tuning in. Today is July the 28th, Thursday, July the 28th, and I wanted just to go into it and talk about real briefly about um, Guilford County Schools. Guilford County in North Carolina is installing 43 body scanners in 19 of their high schools. Now, you know, I give them a hard time. I give Guilford County Schools a hard time, right? But when you do something right, I'll give you your props. I'll pat you on the back. You know, there's a start. You know, um, we have a lot of sentiment from parents and things, and how does this body scanner work, and if they're gonna, like, what about the multiple doors in the school, if it's other buildings on the property, how is this gonna work? you know some parents just not knowing exactly how the body scanner thing works. And all I say is this: same thing as if you ever been in the court building for any business. You didn't have to be going to court, but if you ever been into any court building, they have the scanners. You travel, you go, and I don't believe it's gonna be that sophisticated as if you're traveling in the airport, but the same thing. They're gonna walk through and they're gonna scan your body for any type of any type of thing on your person that may look out of place. But they'll make you empty your pockets. The book bags will go in one place and they'll scan them as well. Um, and I'm down for anything. You're trying to protect the children. You're starting somewhere. And I know a lot of people say, well, what about if there's multiple doors? Guilford County says that they will put the scanners will be put at any additional doors. They're for 2 years is costing them $800,000 to put 43 body scanners in 19 of the high schools. Now, I would like to believe that if you've been following me, and I've talked about this thing. I've been talking about putting body scanners in the schools for the longest. And like I said, I come from the north and the high schools, and some people may think, why in the north, the Midwest, and the West Coast you don't hear about many cases like that of kids coming off in the high schools and in schools just with weapons and shooting up the school. You don't hear of those instances like that because they've always had the body scanners, because they knew of the violence in the neighborhoods and just wherever the schools are located, most of them. So that especially the inner city schools and on the West Coast and the Midwest and up north, the northern states, they know the violence and things of that nature. So they just being in some of them inner city neighborhoods. So that was always a thing. And then they always had multiple, not just the scanners, it's multiple security on hand, all around the schools, and I know some parents sentiment that, they're thinking, they're like, okay, but what about the middle schools? And they're like, well, we don't see a high rate. And I don't agree with that, with them not putting the body scanners in the middle schools. But it's a start. And as they did say, if they see some cases rising, like within the middle schools, they will put it. But what I would say is, if you're not going to put the body scanners in the middle school at this time, you need to really beef up the security at all the schools. Beef up the security, period, around the perimeter of the schools, if anything, and inside the schools. This is creating more jobs for folks. Security, beef up the security, because we're living in the times where we can't afford, we can't afford to just have our children as sitting ducks and not protecting our babies. We have to make sure that that should be the number one priority. You go as many places of business, big companies that have security for their companies. They can't come in the doors without, before you clock in, you have to get checked by security. In a lot of companies, and it's just protecting the people, protecting the the employees, protecting them, and because that's an added sense of security, to ease your mind, to know that you can just go to work that without having to worry about somebody just automatically just walking in with a weapon. They're gonna get found. ASAP. Same way with our students. I mean, if we can travel around the country and have security going through these airports, and it's like a no tolerance. We're hearing of a lot of the episodes on the airplanes and things of that nature, and some of the situations I don't agree with myself, as well as I believe many of you may not either. I don't agree with some of the way that maybe they're handling certain situations. Sometimes I feel like it may be a little extreme, like on the airplanes when some people are getting put off of flights and things of that nature. But then you have to ask yourself, is it extreme? If we're adults flying around, shouldn't you know how to carry yourself? But then on the flip side, you have instances where you're hearing about the stewardess and things of that nature just being disrespectful to those who are flying, to the passengers, and that causes a passenger to go off. We're in a time where it's a very sensitive, very delicate time, and we have to watch what we say to people. You have to really, really follow your manners, and really watch how you talking to people, and watch how you're treating people, because a lot of people are on the edge. I think a lot of people are dealing with, the word I'm trying to capture and look for right now. I believe a lot of people are dealing with, we coming out of this COVID, and we got to remember, even from 9/11, let's not forget the our people from 9/11 that had to go through that situation, and who said that they're okay mentally, today, because it's just been so many years. No, we still have that. It's a lot of anxiety. A lot of people are on the edge for various reasons, and for good reason, So you have to be mindful of how you're treating people, whether it's at the workplace, whether it's in school, whether you're out handling business, whether you're driving on the roads. You have to be mindful of how you're treating people and how you handling yourself, because people are really on the edge right now, and like I just said, for various reasons, I'm not downplaying anybody's situation, and we really need to be respectful in these times. But back to the children, yes, I agree. Like I said, yes, I agree. They should have the cameras in the middle schools, the body scanners in the middle school as well. But if they're not able to do so, which I don't agree, I believe they need to have them in the middle schools. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They received a lot of money from the federal government to handle things with the schools. So security was one of the things where they received the funds for. Okay, so no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So if we're not going to put those scanners in the middle schools, and then grammar schools, then what we need to do is beef up the security in those schools, because what will be the concern then is, okay, the high schools are secured. Now you may have some bonehead trying to shift that over to the middle schools because they may feel that there's not no security in those middle schools. Which we pray that that doesn't be tested around these parts. But what I say is to beef up the security. You need to do that. That's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. There were monies put to the side. Well, I would say monies given and received from the federal government to all schools around the country, all schools around the United States, to take care of their security. So, at all costs, we should exhaust all the funds and resources on that. Because if it's done with our transportation system, flying around and everything of that nature, even on public buses, public transportation, if there's security measures put in place for that, if you can go, you have to think about it. If you could go to work, how could you go to work and be, and maybe your job has security, a security system in place, scanners or whatever of that nature. But if you have a child in school, your child is not secured in no way, So all I say is some parents is, yes, I understand your concerns and everything, but we have to start somewhere. And this is a good start. I hope that Guilford County Schools will continue to stay focused and make security in these schools, public schools, priority number one. That's number one. You can't do anything. We secure our homes, we secure our cars, we secure ourselves. We are secured when we travel. We secured where we work. We secured when you go to amusement parks. Everything that you do, when you think about it, for the most part, you could go in some grocery stores and there's an armed security there. Some people, does it look right? Does it look weird? Yes, but we're living in a different time. We're living in times where it is just mayhem. So things are not going to be. We can't maneuver like things used to be. Even banks, you need to step up a lot of security in the banks, even in Guilford County, hearing, in Greensboro, hearing about a couple of bank robberies, and those things have been going on. But when I think about that, and once again, coming from the north and traveled around this country in different parts, there's banks that have yay high, thick bulletproof glass in the banks. You can't just go in the bank and reach over there's thick bulletproof glass when you go in the banks, and we have to step that situation up as well. We can no longer understand, some people don't want to, you thinking about changing the face and making it uncomfortable for people, like maybe they don't want to come do business, whatever. But we have to think about safety. We have to think about safety first before everything else. If we haven't learned that in these last 20 plus years, we have to think about safety first, securing all perimeters of whatever it is that we're involved with. And so, once again, I say big ups to Guilford County for making a step. This is something that you haven't seen. And as I say, I would like to wonder and believe that somebody from Guilford County, you've been watching, from Guilford County Schools, been watching me and have heard me and listened. And it made sense to you guys, because I've talked about those body scanners. I explained it. And when reading the article in the Rhino Times, I also read that they were like, after the 2 years, Guilford County Schools, after the 2 years, they got to figure out how they're going to get the money. What I say to that, talk to your neighbors up in the north. Talk to your neighbors in the Midwest. Talk to your neighbors in the West Coast, meaning Guilford County Schools. Talk to the school systems in the North or the Midwest, West Coast. Take your pick, and ask them how are they funding their situation when it comes to body scanners in their schools, because they've been doing it for years. You know, I mean, you got to think the schools in the north of Leaf, no exaggeration, are 50 years. I wouldn't say 50. It may be a little exaggeration. I would say about 35 to 40 years advanced past you when it comes to that. So they have much experience and financing their body scanners, their security. Talk to those school systems, districts in those areas in the north, the Midwest, and on the West Coast. Talk to them, and they can tell you how. We have to start banding together. Yes, every state operates different with the school districts, but we have to start coming together as one. Especially when we're talking about something as common as security. Everybody wants to be protected. Okay, so start talking to those. I say to Guilford County, talk to those districts in those parts of the country, and I guarantee you will get the answers, and you should get the guidance that you need, and the resources should be there for you, because we have to protect ourselves, and we got to protect these babies, because it doesn't look good if we can't protect our children. We are supposed to be our children's protector. When our children go off to school, they're in that school, that school's hands, and you have to protect them. We have to at least attempt and put it in place. Measures, security measures. We have to do it, because if we don't, what else are we talking about? Why we can't talk about anything else in education if we're not talking about that. Because just because they're children and young adults in high school doesn't mean that they may not have that they don't have fears. That doesn't mean that. They're humans as well. They have brains as well. They have feelings as well. And they may have some great ideas for you as well too if you just tap in with them. We have to remember that these kids, as we get older, these children, the times change. So these children, they're like boots on the ground more than we are. You get older, and you're going to work, and you're going home, and you're handling the adult business, taking care of your household. These kids are just, these kids are out there in tune. They're tapped in. They got a friend that knows this and knows that friend. They're knowing things. They're seeing things. They're looking at the world at through a whole different lens than what we were. Tap in with them. We can't always look at these young adults and look at these children as if, oh, they're just children, they don't know. That's BS. Because as we all know, and we all can attest to it, we can't play blind to that these kids come out today, they moving faster, they're growing faster, they're more alert than and not only that, these kids come up and they have their hands on the pulse of the world through the World Wide Web, www. They have their hands on the pulse of the world just from that. We didn't have that. If you came up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the early 90s, you come through school system at those times, and we didn't have that. There was no cell phones like they are today. Even in the early 90s, cell phones was around. Late 80s, cell phones, you had them, but there were that wasn't something it wasn't something that you found just anywhere. They had them in certain vehicles like BMWs, I think Mercedes, So and then you had them around, but they were very, like I said, that it wasn't like today where you have stores, you have actual companies that you could go buy and get a cell phone plan in the cell phone. These kids are coming out, these young babies coming up, and they're 1 year old. They know how to scroll through a phone. We didn't have that. We had play phones with the rotary dial. Remember that? We had that. These kids have real phones. These kids, you put a play phone in front of a baby, in front of, I ain't gonna say, put a play phone in front of a 1-year-old and put a real phone in front of them. And which one are they gonna grab? That real phone. They're not playing with play phones anymore. Those plastic phones that we used to play with as kids coming up, they're not playing with that. They don't even know what that is. They look at you like you lost your mind. So we have to tap into these young kids and stay in tune with them, because they know, you can't no longer want to play this superior role. Like, yes, we are the adults, and yes, we are to lead, and we are to provide, we are to secure our children, to the best of our ability. But we also can't keep treating them like they don't have minds, like they don't think. We have to sit and talk with them. They're very interesting. Their view and outlook of the world is very interesting, and some view and outlook may be like, their view and outlook still may be some. You may talk to some young adults, and when I say young adults, I'm talking about high schoolers and even the middle schoolers. You may talk to them, and still they kids, so their outlook may be not. Their outlook still is not. Some is still not as clear, because they still have a lot of living to do, a lot of growing to do, but they still, but that's when we come in, when they don't, and we groom that. But those who are really like, they really seeing this world for what it is, and they really have different views of how things should go, we need to identify and tap in with them and stay in tune with them. There are people too. And a lot of times with the children, some folks think like, why is this kid acting up? You know why? Because they're not getting much attention paid to them. So if they're not getting attention at home, then when they come out into the world around other adults, you're treating them, and you're brushing them off, and you're just, not taking their thoughts in consideration. Then they feel like you're pushing them out. Then they feel like, which way to go? Then they feel like, well, what can I do to get attention, because you folks are not paying me no attention? So then that's when they start veering off, and sometimes tampering in dangerous waters, but you notice the children that has and receives attention, it's a whole different thing. So, I didn't want to seem like I was going all off over the place, but, when we talk about the children, I just want to be clear, they're humans too, and we must protect them. When they're in our presence, when they're in our care, we must protect them at all costs. So once again, Guilford County Schools in North Carolina, I say that was a good move. And I hope that you tap into the resources you need after the 2 years that is up on those body scanners. For the high schools, is 43 body scanners are going to be purchased for 19 of the high schools in Guilford County. And they also said not just the main entrance and the other entrances in the school. That's a good step into the right direction, and let's keep stepping in that direction for security. And then we go and we attack everything else, one by one. But you must show the people that you are making the attempts, and stop locking and trying to lock the people out of. It's no longer locking parents out of school board meetings. Listen and tap into the parents that are coming with good thoughts and ideas. Don't just ask for us parents to be a part of something. And this goes for all schools around the country, all schools around the globe. Don't just ask for the parents to be there for whatever monetary or whenever it benefits you to get back in, to gain your seat again. No. Listen to the parents all the time, because you're there for the people. when it comes to the school system, for the people, for the children. When it comes to city councils, you're there for the people. Let's get back to what you took on these jobs for. Who you took them on for. You work in the school system, you are, believe it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, you're working for the students, not for yourself. Once you enter that realm, you're working for the students, not for yourself. Okay? So let's keep that in mind. You're working on these city councils around the country. You're working for the people, not for yourself. Remember that. Who you had to come to get your seat. And for the people, continue to stay focused and lock in on your local governments. That's where you see the changes at. And I'm kind of upset at what I seen locally here in our city with the voting and everything. You know, more people need to tap in and get involved, you know, because I'm so sick and tired of seeing the same people get in. And I'm like, wow, I'm voting and I'm looking and I'm paying attention to other candidates and people. You got to give other folks a shot. You keep giving the same people a chance, you're getting the same results. You know what they call that? Insanity. If you're even looking for different results, but you keep doing the same thing, it's insanity. So we have to start giving, it's time for a shift and a change. And we have to give new people a chance to come in and fix some things and change some things around, unless you're going to continue to keep getting the same thing and the same old tap dances and songs and everything. You're going to keep getting the same old thing. They're not dressing it up at all. They're just coming on back out on the stage with the same outfits on that they did 4 years ago. They're not changing the makeup. They're not changing the lighting. Nothing. They're just coming right on back doing the same old tap dance for you guys. And it's actually boring. Meaning, when you look at the landscape of certain things, you're seeing the same things going on and nothing is changing, and they keep coming with the same excuses. But I'm like, there's the same excuses from the same people. At least let us get some different faces and places, and then let's see. But if you keep getting the same people in there but the same excuses, it's like, all right, it's time to get some new people in here so we can get some new reactions, some new movement. We can't keep getting the same old thing, you know. But that's my time, folks. I just wanted to chime in, and I wanted to jump in briefly and just talk about some things here. So once again, good job on Guilford County Schools of just trying to make an attempt, because all I've been seeing for the longest is no attempt too much on anything, you know. And next, let's attack fixing these schools up. Let's attack fixing these schools up. Okay? Let's focus more on fixing up what you got than trying to develop more new schools. And just, it's too many schools here in the county, in Guilford County. So let's fix up what you have. If it can't be fixed, then let's think about taking the measures of tearing it down. But let's try to fix what we have. We have to show these kids change and what it looks like. We have to show these children hope. You know, what hope and action and what that does. When you have hope and you put action, what that does, it produces results. Hope, action equals results. Hope and action equals results. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And that's all I can say to that. You know, plot, plan, and strategize. Plot, plan, and strategize. So that's my time, folks. I just wanted to tap in, and I just wanted to, you know, just let what my thoughts was on the schools with the body scanners, and even down to our city council and everything. And yeah, before I wrap up, I guess we still waiting on results for the mayor race in Greensboro, North Carolina, with Nancy Vaughn and Justin Outling. I heard a day ago about they were going to have all the results in by August the 5th. Um, that's another thing that needs to be changed. The mayor. You haven't really seen or heard her say much of anything. No encouragement. She was hiding out. Even if you checked her social media, she weren't even talking. You know, we need change. I'm not fond of the gentleman Justin Outland either. You know, it's too many conflict of interest between the two. You know, and I hate being in a rock and a hard place that where you have to choose between the two evils. You know, um, but we must have change to move forward.